Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this lockdown video. My name's Antonio Fletcher. I'm a partner in the employment team at Bracious, and alongside me is Michelle Perry, who is our HR director at Bracious, but also one of our HR consultants at sister company Kent HR. So we are hopefully going to give you a bit of an insight both from the legal perspective and the HR perspective on furlough leave and some good practice points and tips, not only for now, but perhaps for the months ahead as well. So from my initial perspective, it was just to talk about the evolution of furlough leave over the course of the last 11 months in particular. If we think back 11 months ago to March 2020, I think the key word there was uncertainty. We knew that something was coming. We didn't know what it would look like, and we didn't know how it was going to impact our lives, and particularly how it's going to impact jobs and the workforce. And overnight, the concept of furlough leave was hatched and came into our lives. Something that we'd never heard of before, that all of us lawyers and HR consultants and business managers alike were learning as we went along as to what the rules and the eligibility criteria, etc., were going to be, and that allowed people to retain their jobs, usually albeit on reduced salaries, and in many ways propped up the economy for that initial period, whilst allowing people to still earn some income. And as that progressed, it was extended over time to cover the summer and then the initial stages of autumn, whilst reducing the contributions towards the pay that the government was making. We then saw quite a seismic shift again towards the concept of more flexible furlough, allowing people to do some work, return to work, perhaps part-time, perhaps job sharing with others, and an increase in contribution from the government again, as the pandemic sort of reared its head again. From Michelle's perspective, it would be really useful now to just hear a bit of background about some of the good practice that she's seen amongst clients in that period.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Antonio. I think initially when furlough came in, it was all so new to us and it was so rigid. And I think what we've seen and clients were very much appreciative of was when furlough became a bit more flexible, because it allowed more opportunities. I think furlough, the main impact on furlough was engagement and connectivity with those on furlough leave, and that was the challenge for us all. And lots of clients looked at ways that they could keep that engagement going and that connectivity with the business. So when flexible furlough came in, it gave clients the opportunity to potentially share furlough amongst their workforce rather than an individual being picked to be put on furlough. So, for example, a role that was actually undertaken by 2 or 3 people, they could rotate the furlough arrangements. That definitely helped a lot with engagement and was a differentiator from when the first furlough was in place. And so that was really helpful. The other ways of keeping staff connected and engaged in the business, our clients were ringing regularly, keeping them updated in Teams meetings, encouraging staff to join those meetings as well, even if they were on furlough, keeping the opportunity to be part of the business open and to check communications that were going out. It was really important as well to highlight any employee assistance programs to staff, just to help their mental well-being whilst they were on furlough. And we as a business definitely encouraged our staff to continue to use that time to learn and develop. So obviously our learning management system was open to use for them at that time, so they could dip in and dip out at a time that was useful to them, but also as it kept them engaged with the business and feeling that they were progressing themselves rather than being forgotten, because that certainly wasn't the case. I think integrating back into the business, we've got challenges coming more challenges coming because each individual is different. And obviously, systems, ways of working have all changed over the last few months. And so, for those coming back into the business, they're quite apprehensive and concerned. And so, we've got to sort of balance what is required to assist them in feeling comfortable and connected again. And as well as good practice, there's obviously legal aspects. So I'll hand those back over to you, to Antonia, to have a discussion about. Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, there certainly are going to be challenges along the way now as well. At the moment, furlough is anticipated to come to an end at the end of April. Whether it will be extended beyond then, who knows? I think a lot will depend on how things go in terms of the pandemic, of vaccinations, etc., and the readiness of businesses to welcome people back to perhaps a more normal working environment, and to have that confidence that they will have roles for them and work for them to do back on a full basis, if you like. It's also going to be challenging, no doubt, for not only for those who have been on furlough leave, but also those who are perhaps more accustomed now to working from home and returning, if you like, to their office environment or to whatever working environments they would normally be based in, will also inevitably cause challenges, cause disruption, make people feel uncomfortable, because given that we've all had such minimal human contact over the last year, just being back in a building with more people will inevitably cause anxiety, might cause friction, and whilst many clients have put numerous steps in place in order to try and keep that team ethos and keep that engagement level high, it's going to be a challenge to rebuild those physical teams as well. So there will inevitably need to be some strategizing around how those changes are going to be implemented when the time is right. And I would say now is probably a good time to start thinking about that, albeit with a lot of flexibility in mind. And plan how the return will look like, but also plan about what you're going to do and what your strategies are going to be when things do become difficult. Because, as I say, I think inevitably for a few people they will be. I think it's important to consider the return to more normal working practices, if you like, is going to be as disruptive, probably as it was 11 months ago. But if you have that mentality and you are well prepared, then I think those challenges can be overcome. From our perspective, it's great to give you this insight on this lockdown video. Hope it was useful. Hope you managed to take something from it, and we look forward to joining you again soon. Many thanks.
Thank you.